Hello YouTubers, RogueMonkeyJr here, and yesterday LevelCap released a video talking about how the Burton LMR broke Battlefield 1. Now, disclaimer, I don't dislike LevelCap. I've been watching his videos for years. I watch This Week in Gaming every single week, but I feel as though his video about the fact that the Burton LMR broke Battlefield 1 has a couple of flaws in it, and the Burton LMR didn't really break Battlefield 1. And I wanted to kind of make a response video to this, something that I've never done before, but I think having YouTube as a platform is also a place to have discussions on stuff like this. So we're just going to watch a little clip of his video, and then we're going to kind of give a counter argument as to why the Burton LMR didn't really break Battlefield 1.
So DICE added this machine gun to the game that has incendiary rounds to shoot down airplanes. Look what it can do. First volley disabled both wings on that attack plane. Second volley disabled both wings and the engine of the second attack plane. We reload, we can completely resupply ourselves. The first plane is looping back around, he's still disabled. And I completely destroy the plane with the second volley there. Now granted, I didn't do 100% damage to him, but this weapon can completely disable both wings and engines in a single pass. An airplane doing a low dive bomb like that can be disabled in one volley from this gun and will not have the ability to actually pull out of the dive. Even this
Okay, so as you saw right there, the Burton LMR is obviously a weapon that was added in the June update for Battlefield 1, and as LevelCap said, it can shoot incendiary round as its alternate fire. So when you press your switch fire mode, you're going to switch to the incendiary rounds on the Burton LMR. Now, yeah, he did manage to destroy the plane because he disabled the wings, disabled the engine and whatever, but this is a pretty isolated case. The pilot was pretty bad to loop back around. He should have just kept going and repaired himself instead of trying to come for another pass. So that's an example of poor piloting skills. So I don't think you can really take that and say, okay, this gun's way too powerful against planes because that was just a bad pilot. Generally speaking, if a pilot is good, he's going to fly up really high or stuff like that and try to get away from danger instead of coming back around to do a second pass on the area where he just got damaged from. And next thing that he's talking about is that you can completely resupply yourself. I mean, of course, you're playing support, but the Burton LMR has a 3.2 second reload when empty, which is plenty of time for a plane to get away after you fire at him with all 20 incendiary rounds with that first volley of bullets. You won't have time to reload by the time he swoops by and just keeps on flying. He's going to have time to repair himself if he's high enough. And he was saying that planes doing low dive bombs like that can get completely destroyed in a single pass. What's the matter with that? When a pilot decides to go on a low dive bomb like that, he's taking the risk of getting destroyed or even crashing his plane for that matter, or getting one shot by God knows what a tank. He's taking that risk, but sometimes taking a risk like that yields high rewards, and for the pilot it might be getting 3, 4, or 5 kills. So I don't really see the problem with the fact that the Burton LMR can completely annihilate a plane in one single pass. I mean, planes have been dominating Battlefield 1 for almost 2 years now with very little ways of dealing with them, aside of the AA guns, the stationary ones, the AA truck, and the AA rocket gun that they added to the assault class, which, by the way, pretty much nobody uses because it's pretty much pointless. So aside from those two methods of dealing with planes for ground support, of course with planes being the third way of dealing with other planes, there's only really one way that an actual infantry player has to deal with planes in an effective manner, and that's with the Burton LMR incendiary rounds. That's one weapon in all the base class roster for all 4 classes combined. It's not as though every class had a weapon that could shoot incendiary rounds and just demolish planes. That's one single weapon across all of the classes in Battlefield 1. That's like nothing. And right now the weapon is new and a lot of people are trying it out. They're using it. So that's why you might see a large influx of players using the Burton LMR, because it is new and they want to try it out. But people are going to go back to their favorite weapons at some point. The Burton LMR is a great weapon. Don't get me wrong, it's really powerful in close quarter combat. It fires at 830 rounds per minute. It does 23 maximum damage and 17.5 minimum. So it's a pretty decent weapon. It has a lot of downsides though. It only has 20 rounds, so you can't deal with that many targets in one magazine. Then you're gonna have to go through that reload. It blocks a lot of your screen with those double magazines. It also has a pretty damn slow muzzle velocity compared to the other LMGs available to the support class. The Burton LMR shoots at 520 meters per second, as compared to some of the other LMGs that shoot 850 meters per second and up. Hitting moving targets with the Burton LMR means that you're going to need to lead your shots a lot more, and when a plane's flying by at like max speed, even if you do manage to get like an entire clip in them, if they're high enough off the ground, they're not dive bombing, they're going to be able to get away really easily before you get time to reload and then fire off more shots. By that time he's going to be long gone, and you're going to have a hard time actually hitting the plane with that slow muzzle velocity. Also, when you actually switch fire modes, it takes roughly 1.25 seconds or to 1.5 seconds to actually switch from your regular ammo to your incendiary ammo. And if you don't have the fast enough reflexes to do it as soon as you hear the plane coming, or there's a lot of stuff happening and you don't hear the plane until the last second, you have even less time to actually put bullets into that plane in order to damage the wings and the engine. So, like he was running around in the video with incendiary rounds equipped all the time, but incendiary rounds aren't that effective against ground targets, infantry. They're not that good. You do less damage for some reason, I don't know why, but you do less damage to infantry with incendiary rounds, so it's not really viable for a player to be running around with that all the time and just in hopes to actually hunt down planes. You're going to be at a disadvantage if you're always running around with the incendiary rounds. So generally speaking, players are going to run around with the standard type of ammo that the Burton LMR shoots, and then when the player hears a plane that's coming, he will then proceed to switch to incendiary rounds to not be at a constant disadvantage against other infantry players. 90% of the people I've talked to don't really think the Burton LMR is that overpowered against planes, and that maybe LevelCap in his video was having an experience that he was always playing against bad pilots and was running around with the incendiary rounds all the time. That gave him kind of like a mindset that the Burton LMR is way too strong, it needs to be nerfed, it broke Battlefield. It didn't really. It's not that good against the biggest threat on the battlefield from the air, which is the strategic bomber. That thing can take so many clips of the incendiary rounds from the Burton LMR that it kind of only tickles him. He can just fly away and start repairing, no questions asked, as can also other pilots who are skilled. They'll know not to come back around for a second pass before being fully repaired. And also, most maps have plenty of ways for pilots to break line of sights, like buildings, mountains, and there's even dynamic weather in the game that makes it a little bit harder to actually see and spot planes such as fog and sandstorms. So no, I don't think the Burton LMR broke Battlefield 1. I think it's fine where it is. It doesn't need to be nerfed. We finally have one single way as an infantry player to deal with planes in an effective manner, not counting the pretty much non-existent AA rocket gun as I talked about earlier. So that pretty much sums up what I wanted to talk about in today's video, and kind of like counter-argue LevelCap's point. Again, I really like LevelCap's videos. I've been watching him for years. I don't put this video out here to demean him in any way, but I think that YouTube as a platform is very good for discussion. Thus, the reason why I made this video. So let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on the Burton LMR. If you think that it broke the game, let's get a discussion going down there. I don't want it to be a war. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. No insulting needed. I mean, this is what it's all about. It's discussing these topics in order to get a clear-cut point to be like, okay, it is broken, it needs to be nerfed, or no, it's fine, we just finally have a way to deal with those pesky pilots that more often than not dominate the skies without much resistance. So while you're down there, be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I release Battlefield and first-person shooter related content pretty much every day, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.